She was just a poor cleaner, but when she saw that 9-year-old boy pointing at her among 5 wealthy women and shouting, "I choose her to be my mother," she discovered that sometimes a child's heart sees what adults cannot. This simple declaration revealed a profound truth that transcended the superficial judgments of the world around them, hinting at a connection deeper than wealth or social status. "Gabriel, come here right now." Ricardo Almeida was in the mansion's backyard when he decided he couldn't wait any longer. 2 years without Mariana was already far too much time, and the emptiness in their grand house felt palpable. That 9-year-old boy needed a mother, and Ricardo was determined to resolve this crucial matter today. Gabriel was playing alone near the pool, stacking small stones, a solitary ritual he always performed when he wished to become invisible, lost in his own world. Ever since his mother's sudden and tragic departure, the child had been living like a ghost through the house, a silent and somber presence among the bustling staff. "What is it, Dad?" Gabriel asked, his voice barely a whisper as he approached Ricardo. "Sit here next to me. I need to talk to you," Ricardo said, watching his son walk slowly, those green eyes so much like Mariana's. Ricardo felt his chest tighten with a familiar pang of grief, but he quickly pushed the thought away, knowing he couldn't stay in that state forever. "Son, you know I love you, right?" Gabriel simply nodded, his usual response lately, as he spoke little and smiled even less. "And Mom always wanted us to be happy, even after she couldn't stay with us anymore." Ricardo continued, trying to keep his voice steady. "I know," Gabriel replied, the words heavy with a quiet understanding beyond his years. "That's why I've decided something important. You're going to have a new mother." Gabriel stopped fiddling with the small stones he held, his eyes widening slightly. "What do you mean?" Ricardo knelt down to his son's level, attempting to convey warmth and enthusiasm. "I've already chosen 5 wonderful women. You're going to meet all of them today, and tell me which one you want to be your new mother." The boy's face went white at the announcement, his small frame tensing. Today, he stammered, his voice barely audible. "Right now, they're already on their way here." Gabriel suddenly stood up, scattering the carefully stacked stones across the ground. "I don't want to meet anyone," he declared, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and defiance. "Of course you do," Ricardo countered, rising to his feet as well. "They are beautiful, wealthy, educated women. One of them will take very good care of you." "I don't need anyone taking care of me," Gabriel retorted, his small chin jutting out stubbornly. Ricardo felt irritation rising within him. At his company, when he spoke, everyone obeyed instantly. It wouldn't be any different with his own son. "Gabriel, stop this tantrum. You haven't even met them yet." "I don't want to meet them. I don't want a new mother," Gabriel insisted, his voice growing louder. "It's not a question of wanting, it's a question of needing," Ricardo argued, his patience wearing thin. "This house needs a woman. You need a mother." "I already had a mother," Gabriel screamed with a sudden burst of rage that startled his own father. "She died, remember? Or have you already forgotten her?" The words sliced through Ricardo like a blade, sharp and painfully true. "Of course I haven't forgotten your mother, but life goes on, Gabriel," Ricardo said, trying to maintain a calm tone despite the fresh wound. "For you, life goes on. For me, it stopped the day she left," the boy replied, his voice thick with emotion. Gabriel began to walk toward the back of the yard, where a cluster of dense trees offered a natural hiding place. Ricardo quickly grabbed his arm, preventing him from escaping. "You're not going anywhere. You're going to stay here and meet these women." "Let go of me!" Gabriel struggled to free himself from his father's grip, his small body twisting. "You can't make me." "Yes, I can. I'm your father," Ricardo asserted, pulling him closer. "A fake father?" Gabriel spat, tears streaming down his face. "A real father wouldn't force his son to choose a fake mother." Ricardo felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach, the accusation hitting him hard. Gabriel managed to break free and ran towards the back of the yard, disappearing among the bushes, just as Ricardo heard the sound of cars arriving. They were here, the 5 candidates, and Gabriel had vanished. Helena Santos was cleaning the living room windows when she saw the parade of expensive cars pulling up in front of the house. A black BMW, a white Mercedes, a silver Audi. It looked like a magazine spread a display of wealth that seemed out of place in the otherwise quiet neighborhood. Helena Carmen, the housekeeper. Carmen appeared rushing towards her. The boss sent word. Today you're to stay only in the service area, not appearing in the main house, not circulating around. Helena paused, her rag hovering over the glass. Why? What kind of visitors are these? Carmen lowered her voice, her expression a mix of concern and gossip. He brought some women here for Gabriel to meet. He wants to choose a new wife. Helena felt her heart clench at the news. In the 6 months she had been working in that house, she had grown deeply fond of the sad boy who lived lost in a mansion full of people, but empty of love. Gabriel always sought her out when his father wasn't around, and Helena always found a way to listen to the wild stories he invented, offering him a solace his father seemed unable to provide. And Gabriel? How did he react? Helena asked, her voice tinged with worry. Badly. He ran off into the yard and doesn't want to come back. The boss is desperate. Carmen whispered, her eyes darting nervously towards the front door. Helena looked out the window and saw 5 women elegantly descending from their cars. They were all too perfect to be true high heels, designer clothes, salon-styled hair. They looked like expensive dolls, meticulously crafted and utterly detached. Poor Gabriel. Helena murmured, her heart aching for the boy. Helena, don't get involved in this. The boss is already nervous. If he finds out you're talking to the boy, he'll fire you on the spot. But Helena couldn't stop thinking about Gabriel, wondering where he was in the yard. Was he crying? Was he scared? At 9 years old, that boy had already lost his mother. Now they wanted to force him to choose a substitute, as if he were picking an ice cream flavor, a choice far too heavy for his young shoulders. Through the kitchen window, she saw Ricardo receiving the 5 women at the entrance. All of them were smiling, all charming, all eyeing the fortune of the city's richest widower. But where is Gabriel Carmen? Helena asked, her gaze fixed on the empty space beside Ricardo. I'm just going to take a quick look in the backyard to see if the plants are watered, she declared, trying to make her departure seem casual. Helena, don't go, no. Stay inside, Carmen urged, sensing her true intentions. But Helena was already slipping out the back door, a powerful instinct pulling her forward. Something deep inside her chest told her that Gabriel needed help, a silent plea that she couldn't ignore. The mansion's backyard was enormous, sprawling out in every direction. It had a large pool area, a vast green lawn, and further back a section with trees and a small bridge spanning a tiny stream. It was there that Helena found Gabriel huddled underneath the bridge, clutching his knees with his head hidden in his arms. He wasn't crying, but Helena could feel his sadness like a heavy cloud in the air, a tangible weight of sorrow. Gabriel, are you okay, dear? Helena asked softly, her voice gentle and comforting. He lifted his head, startled by her presence. When he saw it was Helena, he relaxed a little, a flicker of relief in his green eyes. Aunt Helena, I don't want to go back to the house. Helena sat down next to him on the grass, not caring that she was getting her uniform dirty. What happened? She asked, her concern evident. My father wants me to choose a new mother from 5 women I don't even know. The boy's voice was laden with a sadness that didn't match his age, a sorrow that felt far too old for him. Helena felt a lump in her throat, a strong urge to cry along with him. And you don't want a new mother? She probed gently. I already had a mother, Aunt Helena. Her name was Mariana, and she truly loved me. These women don't love me. They don't even know me. How can you be so sure? Helena questioned, trying to understand his reasoning. Because they're here for my father's money, not for me. My real mother loved me even before I was born. She loved me when I cried when I was sick. She always loved me. Helena had to swallow her tears, deeply moved by his words. At 9 years old, Gabriel understood things that many adults pretended not to see, a raw wisdom born of pain. Your father is probably suffering too, Gabriel, Helena said, trying to offer a different perspective. Sometimes adults do foolish things when their heart aches. He's already forgotten Mom. He took all her pictures out of the house. Now he wants to force me to call a stranger Mom." Gabriel replied, his voice filled with resentment. "He took all the pictures, said it was time to move on, but I don't want to move on without my mom." Helena gently took Gabriel's cold little hand in hers, offering a silent comfort. "Can I tell you a secret, dear?" she asked, her voice soft. "You can," he whispered, looking up at her. "Your mother hasn't truly gone away. She's still here in your heart and your memories, in the kind way you are, just like she was." Gabriel looked directly into her eyes, absorbing her words. "Aunt Helena, every night I talk to Mom before I go to sleep. I tell her about my day. I ask her if she's okay. And do you know what she told me yesterday?" "What?" Helena asked, intrigued. "That when it was time to choose someone to take care of me, my heart would know. I wouldn't need Dad telling me what to do." Helena felt a shiver run down her spine. "And is your heart saying anything?" she prodded, hopeful. Gabriel stared at her for a few seconds, his green eyes searching her face. "It's saying that you're the only person in this house who truly likes me." At that moment, Ricardo's voice echoed through the yard, sharp and angry. "Gabriel, where are you? Come here right now." The boy cringed, shrinking further into himself. "He's going to make me choose," he whispered, fear creeping into his voice. "Gabriel." Ricardo's voice grew closer and angrier, the sound cutting through the air. Helena made a decision that would change her life forever. "Stay here. I'm going to talk to your father." "No, Aunt Helena, he'll fire you," Gabriel cried, clutching at her arm. "He won't. I won't let anyone hurt you, Gabriel, I promise." Helena stood up, brushed the dirt from her uniform, and went to meet Ricardo. She found him near the pool, red with rage, with the 5 women observing everything from a polite distance. "Mr. Ricardo," she began, her voice calm despite her pounding heart. "Helena, what the hell are you doing here? I told you to stay in the kitchen," he thundered, his face contorted in anger. "Gabriel is hiding in the yard. He doesn't want to meet these ladies," Helena explained, refusing to be intimidated. "Where is he?" Ricardo took a step towards her, his imposing figure trying to assert dominance. "He's scared, sir. He's a 9-year-old child who still misses his mother deeply." One of the women, a brunette in a blue dress, let out a dismissive laugh. "What drama? It's just a spoiled boy's tantrum." Helena turned to the woman with a coldness that surprised even herself. "Do you have children, madam?" she asked, her voice unwavering. The woman faltered, then replied, "No." "Then don't talk about what you don't understand," Helena stated firmly. Ricardo's face turned purple with rage, his hands clenching into fists. "Helena, how dare you speak to my guests like that?" he roared. "I'm just defending Gabriel. He's a child who needs affection, not pressure. He needs to learn that I am the father and he obeys." Ricardo countered, his voice dripping with authority. "He needs love, Mr. Ricardo, not forced obedience." A heavy silence fell over the yard, thick with tension. The 5 women watched the argument with expressions that suggested they were watching a captivating soap opera, an employee openly defying her millionaire boss in front of them. "You're fired," Ricardo said, his words sharp and delivered through clenched teeth. "No!" Gabriel's voice cut through the air, startling everyone. All heads turned to see the boy emerging from his hiding place, running towards them, his face red from crying. "Don't fire Aunt Helena. She's the only one who understands me in this house." Gabriel stopped in front of Helena and grabbed her uniform skirt, just like a small child does when they want protection, burying his face in its folds. "Gabriel, come here immediately," Ricardo ordered, his voice stern. "I won't. I'm staying with Aunt Helena," he cried defiantly. One of the women, a brunette in a red dress, murmured to the others, "What an embarrassing situation. The child is really ill-mannered." Gabriel heard her and turned to her with a rage that impressed everyone, his small body trembling. "You don't know anything about me. You're only here because you want my father's money." "Gabriel!" Ricardo yelled, but the boy continued, pointing his finger at Helena. If I have to choose, I've already chosen. I choose Aunt Helena to be my new mother." A deathly silence fell over the yard. The 5 candidates stood with their mouths agape, utterly stunned. Ricardo's face turned white as a sheet, the color draining from it completely. Helena felt the ground disappear from beneath her feet, overwhelmed by the sudden declaration. Gabriel, however, continued shouting with all the strength in his lungs. "She's the one I want. She's the one who truly cares about me. If you want a choice, here it is. I choose Aunt Helena." "You've completely lost your mind, Gabriel." Ricardo was purple with rage, his voice a low growl. The 5 women remained frozen, mouths open, unable to believe that a 9-year-old child had chosen the domestic helper over them, a stark rejection of their carefully presented allure. "I haven't lost my mind at all," Gabriel retorted, still clinging to Helena's skirt, his small body shaking. "I know exactly what I'm talking about." The brunette in the blue dress let out a nervous laugh. "Ricardo, this is clearly a childish tantrum. The child is confused." "Not confused at all." Gabriel spun towards her, his eyes shining with fury. "You're the one who doesn't understand anything." "Gabriel, you're going to stop this right now," Ricardo roared, taking a step forward. "Apologize to these ladies and come with me." "I won't apologize to those who don't deserve it," Gabriel shouted, his voice cracking. Helena tried to calm him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Gabriel, dear, please be quiet." Ricardo exploded at Helena. "You don't say another word, you're fired, and that's final." "No!" Gabriel screamed so loudly that even the neighbors must have heard him. "If she leaves, I'm leaving too." The woman in the yellow dress murmured to the others, "What an embarrassing situation. I think we should go." "No, please." Ricardo, desperate, tried to salvage the situation. "The boy is just upset. Let's go inside, have some coffee, and talk calmly." But Gabriel was not calm in the slightest. He let go of Helena's skirt and went directly in front of the 5 women, his small chest heaving. "Do you want to know why I don't choose any of you?" Gabriel challenged. Ricardo tried to interrupt, but the woman in red, intrigued, said, "Let the boy speak." Gabriel took a deep breath, his small body still trembling. "Because you don't even know my name properly. Do you know what food I like? Do you know that I have nightmares every night? You only know that my father is rich." The blonde in the green dress, crossing her arms, replied, "Of course we don't know those things yet. We just met." "Exactly," Gabriel countered, his voice rising. "You want to marry my father without even knowing me, and Aunt Helena has known me for 6 months. She knows I like to stack small stones. She knows I'm afraid of the dark. She knows I talk to my mom every night." Helena felt her chest tighten, deeply moved. That boy was defending her with all his might, pouring out his heart in her defense. "This is ridiculous," the brunette in blue scoffed. "A cleaner isn't capable of raising a child from a wealthy family. She doesn't even have proper education." "And do you have a heart?" Gabriel retorted, his voice unwavering. "Because education I can learn anywhere, but a good heart like Aunt Helena's is hard to find." The woman was left speechless, clearly taken aback by his unexpected wisdom. Ricardo was losing complete control of the situation. "Enough, Gabriel, to your room right now, Helena. Get your things and get out of my house." "Dad, don't you listen to me!" Gabriel cried, tears streaming down his face. "You never listen to me. Mom, listen to me." "Your mother died, Gabriel. She's not coming back," Ricardo said, his voice strained. "I know she died," the boy screamed, his voice raw with pain. "But that doesn't mean I have to accept just anyone in her place." A profound silence fell over the yard, everyone shocked by Gabriel's emotional explosion. The woman in the red dress cleared her throat nervously. "Ricardo, I think the boy needs psychological support. This isn't normal." "Normal is having a mother," Gabriel yelled at her, his eyes blazing. "Do you have children?" The woman shook her head. "No." "Then don't talk about what you don't know." Ricardo grabbed Gabriel by the arm, his grip tight. "You're going to stop being ill-mannered right now." "Ow! You're hurting me!" Gabriel cried out. Helena stepped forward without thinking. "Mr. Ricardo, he's just a child." And you're just a cleaner. Ricardo spat his anger, turning on her. A cleaner who clearly crossed the line with my son. You only what? Ricardo interrupted, his voice laced with accusation. You filled his head with crazy ideas, made him get attached to you to cause all this confusion. Helena turned pale, stung by the unfair accusation. Sir, I would never do that. Liar! Ricardo exploded, his voice booming. For 6 months you manipulated my son. You took advantage of the fact that he's a needy child to turn his head. That's not true. Gabriel managed to break free from his father's grip, his small body trembling. Stop yelling at her, Aunt Helena. Never did anything wrong. Yes, she did. She took advantage of you, Ricardo insisted. She helped me. Gabriel was sobbing now, his words coming out in gasps. When I had nightmares, she would come talk to me. When I was sad, she would listen to me. Where were you, Dad? Where were you? The question echoed through the yard like a gunshot, piercing the tense silence. Ricardo stood speechless, completely caught off guard by the raw honesty. The 5 women exchanged uneasy glances, clearly uncomfortable with the escalating family drama. The blonde in the yellow dress quietly spoke to the others. This situation is far too heavy. Let's leave. No! Ricardo, desperate, tried to stop them. You can't go. I'll fix this. But they were already walking towards their cars, murmuring among themselves, their high heels clicking disdainfully on the pavement. In less than 5 minutes, the 3 luxury cars vanished through the front gate, leaving only dust in their wake. Ricardo stood alone in the middle of the yard, watching his chance to resolve his life, simply drive away, taking all his carefully laid plans with it. When he turned around, his face was contorted with a rage Gabriel had never seen before, a fury that seemed to consume him. There, you did it! Ricardo roared, pointing an accusing finger at his son. You sent them all away! I didn't send anyone away. They left on their own. Gabriel retorted, his voice still shaky from crying. They left because of you, because of this mess you created. Helena tried to intervene. Mr. Ricardo. You don't say another word, he yelled at her, his voice cutting her off sharply. Get your things now and get out of my house. I never want to see you here again. No. Gabriel threw himself in front of Helena, his small body acting as a shield. She's not leaving. Yes, she is, and you're going to your room and you're not coming out. Ricardo grabbed Gabriel by the arm and began to drag him towards the house. The boy struggled, crying, screaming, begging for help, his small body flailing. Take your hand off me. I want Aunt Helena. Forget that woman. She manipulated you, Ricardo insisted, pulling him harder. Helena stood rooted to the spot, unsure of what to do. She wanted to help Gabriel, but she knew that if she intervened, she might only make everything worse. Mr. Ricardo! A voice shouted from the gate. Everyone turned. It was Carmen, the housekeeper, running towards them, her face etched with alarm. What's going on here? I heard screaming all the way from the kitchen. Carmen, take this woman to get her things. I want her out of my house in 10 minutes. Ricardo ordered, his voice still harsh. Carmen looked at Helena, then at Gabriel, who was struggling in his father's arms, then at Ricardo, distraught with rage. Sir, what did Helena do? She asked, confusion evident in her voice. She poisoned my son's mind. She made him get attached to her to cause confusion. Ricardo insisted, his face red. That's not true, Carmen. Helena finally managed to speak, her voice trembling. I only took care of Gabriel when he needed it. Liar, Ricardo roared, his voice booming. Gabriel, seizing the distraction, managed to break free from his father's grip. He ran to Helena and grabbed her around the waist, clinging to her desperately. Aunt Helena, don't leave me, please. Helena hugged the boy tightly, feeling him tremble with sobs, his small body shaking against hers. Gabriel, promise you won't leave. Ricardo lunged forward to separate the two, but Carmen quickly stepped between them. Mr. Ricardo, calm down. Look at the child's state. Gabriel was having a full-blown crisis, crying uncontrollably, trembling, unable to breathe properly. I can't breathe, he managed to gasp between sobs, his face turning an alarming shade of red. Helena knelt to his height, her voice calm and soothing. Gabriel, breathe with me slowly. Inhale, exhale. I can't, he cried. Carmen, visibly worried, spoke up. Sir, he's having an anxiety attack. Anxiety attack. He's 9 years old, Ricardo exclaimed, disbelief in his voice. Children get them too, sir, especially children who have experienced loss, Carmen explained gently. Ricardo looked at his son, who was losing control in Helena's arms, and for the first time he felt a surge of fear. Gabriel was purple from crying so much, sweating coldly, trembling uncontrollably. Gabriel! Ricardo tried to approach his anger, momentarily forgotten, replaced by genuine alarm. No! The boy screamed, recoiling from him. You're going to send her away. You don't care about me, you only care about work. The accusation hit Ricardo hard, but his wounded pride was too strong for him to admit it. Carmen, call a doctor, he ordered, turning away from Gabriel. No need for a doctor, Helena said softly, still holding Gabriel close. He just needs to calm down. Gabriel, listen to Aunt Helena. You're safe. No one will hurt you. Slowly, Gabriel stopped trembling. His breathing returned to normal, but he still wouldn't let go of Helena, clinging to her as if she were his lifeline. There, my dear. It's over, Helena murmured gently, stroking his hair. Ricardo observed the scene, a knot of conflicting emotions in his chest. In 6 months, he had never seen his son have a crisis like that, and he had never seen Helena manage to calm him in such a way. But his wounded pride spoke louder than reason. Carmen, take Helena to get her things. I want her out of here in 1 hour. Gabriel lifted his head from Helena's arms, his eyes wide and red-rimmed. If she goes, I go with her. You're not going anywhere. You're staying here. Ricardo snapped, his voice firm. Then I'll run away. Gabriel threatened, his voice trembling. If you run away, I'll call the police. Gabriel looked at his father with a sadness that broke Helena's heart. You really hate me, don't you, Dad? I don't hate you, Ricardo insisted, though his voice sounded hollow. Yes, you do. Ever since Mom died, you've hated me. That's why you work all the time. That's why you want to give me to just any woman to take care of me. That's why you took Mom's pictures out of the house. Ricardo was left speechless, the boy's words a brutal mirror reflecting his own actions. Gabriel then turned to Helena, his voice filled with sincere gratitude. Aunt Helena, thank you so much for taking care of me. I'll never forget it. And he walked slowly into the house like a tired old man, leaving Helena standing in the yard with a broken heart, watching that 9-year-old boy carry a pain that was far too large for his small chest. Carmen, Ricardo said, his voice hoarse, finally breaking the silence, help her pack her things. And he walked into the house, leaving Helena alone in the yard, the very place where just an hour ago she had been chosen by Gabriel to be his mother. Now she was fired, scorned, and losing forever the boy she had learned to love as her own son. 3 days passed since Helena left. 3 days that felt like 3 years to Gabriel. The boy didn't leave his room, didn't talk to anyone, and barely touched his food. Carmen, the housekeeper, would go up with meals and come down with the plates, still full, untouched. Mr. Ricardo, she tried to talk to him on the second day, her voice laced with concern. Gabriel isn't eating anything. He'll eat when he's hungry, Ricardo replied, without lifting his eyes from his computer screen, his focus seemingly elsewhere. He hasn't spoken a word for 2 days. He'll get over it. It's a tantrum. Ricardo dismissed, his tone firm. But Carmen knew it wasn't a tantrum. The boy was wasting away, consumed by sadness, and Ricardo was pretending not to see. On the morning of the 3rd day, the phone rang. It was Veronica Aguiar, the brunette in the blue dress, her voice syrupy sweet. Ricardo, darling, how are you? Oh, hi, Veronica, I'm fine. Ricardo replied, a sigh escaping him. I've been thinking a lot about what happened at your house. What a terrible situation you went through, wasn't it? Ricardo sighed again, admitting, it was embarrassing, yes, I apologize for that. Imagine, darling, it wasn't your fault. It was that manipulative cleaner, Veronica said, her voice dripping with venom. What do you mean? Ricardo asked, confused. Oh, Ricardo, it's obvious she planned everything. 6 months filling the child's head, playing the poor victim, gaining the boy's trust. All calculated. Veronica explained, her tone conspiratorial. Ricardo stopped typing, a seed of doubt planted in his mind. You think so? I'm sure of it. A poor woman sees a rich widowed man with a small child, and she knows the opportunity she has in front of her. I bet she was eyeing you from day one. Veronica insisted, painting a convincing picture. She was always very dedicated to her work, Ricardo mused, remembering Helena's diligence. Of course she was. It was all part of the plan. Ricardo, you're a smart man in business, but sometimes you're too naive with people. Veronica's words, cunningly delivered, began to make sense in Ricardo's confused mind. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps Helena had truly manipulated Gabriel. You know what I think, Veronica continued, pressing her advantage. You should give us a second chance. Without that woman causing confusion, I'm sure Gabriel will accept us better. I don't know, Veronica. He was very upset. Ricardo hesitated, remembering Gabriel's outburst. Exactly. The child's mind was poisoned. He needs time to clear it. Veronica countered her logic, appealing to Ricardo's business-oriented mind. When he realizes that woman isn't coming back, he'll need someone to fill the void. That's where we come in. What if I and the girls come back this weekend, no pressure, just to talk? It made sense, at least in Ricardo's mind it did. Okay, you can come Saturday afternoon. Perfect, darling. And Ricardo? Yes, he replied. This time be firmer with Gabriel. Children need boundaries. If he throws a tantrum, you show him who's in charge. When he hung up, Ricardo felt a renewed sense of confidence. Maybe Veronica was right. Maybe Helena had truly manipulated Gabriel, and now he needed to correct the situation, to reassert his authority and put his life back on track, just as he would a troubled business deal. Meanwhile, in the small maid's room she had rented in a cheap boarding house, Helena couldn't stop thinking about Gabriel. How was he? Was he eating? Was he having nightmares? Who was comforting him when he woke up crying? She tried calling Carmen a few times, but the house phone didn't answer, leading her to believe that Ricardo had forbidden the staff from speaking to her. On Thursday night, as she was returning from the supermarket, she saw Carmen at the bus stop, a familiar face in the bustling street. Carmen? Helena rushed towards the housekeeper, her heart pounding. Helena, you startled me, Carmen said, her eyes darting nervously around. I can't talk to you. If the boss finds out, I'll be fired. How is Gabriel? Helena pressed her voice urgent. Carmen lowered her voice, speaking quickly. Bad, very bad. He's not eating, not talking, not leaving his room. He's wasting away. Helena felt her heart clench painfully. And Mr. Ricardo pretends not to see. He says it's a tantrum, but I know it's not. Helena, the boy is truly suffering. I have to do something. Helena declared, her resolve firming. You can't. He forbade you from coming near the house. If he finds out you came here, he'll fire me too. Carmen's bus arrived and she quickly boarded, but before the doors closed, she shouted through the window, The women are coming back Saturday. Helena stood frozen on the sidewalk, processing the information. The 5 candidates were returning, and Gabriel was debilitated without the strength to defend himself. It was going to be a massacre. Saturday arrived, bringing with it the 5 women who appeared at Ricardo's house punctually at 3 in the afternoon. This time they came more prepared. They had strategized among themselves during the week and devised a new approach, determined not to repeat the previous fiasco. Ricardo, darling, Veronica said upon their arrival, her voice smooth and confident. We brought gifts for Gabriel to break the ice, and we talked a lot about the situation. We understand that the child was a victim of manipulation. We won't pressure him at all today. What a good idea, Ricardo exclaimed, pleased with their initiative. He led them into the living room, but Gabriel had not come down yet. Carmen went upstairs to call him 3 times until he finally appeared at the top of the stairs, a shadow of his former self. Helena would have been shocked if she had seen him. In 3 days, the boy had lost weight. His face was pale, and he had deep, dark circles under his eyes. He looked genuinely ill. "Gabriel, come here, son. The aunts came to visit you," Ricardo called out, trying to sound cheerful. The boy descended slowly, dragging his feet, his posture slouched. He sat on an armchair far away from the group, his head bowed without greeting anyone. "Hi, Gabriel," Veronica said, her voice overly sweet, almost cloying. "We brought gifts for you." Gabriel raised his eyes for a moment but said nothing, his gaze blank. "Look at this." The blonde in the green dress, who was wearing blue today, proudly displayed a large box. A brand new video game. Gabriel glanced at the box without any interest, his eyes lifeless. "And I brought this." The brunette in the red dress, now in pink, showed off a very expensive bicycle. "For you to ride in the yard. And I brought beautiful clothes." The other blonde, dressed in white today, revealed designer shopping bags, hoping to entice him. "And I brought educational books." The last woman in a lilac dress piled books on the table, trying to make an impression. Gabriel looked at everything without saying a word. Then he stood up and spoke the first thing he had said in 3 days. "Where's Aunt Helena?" A profound silence fell over the living room, heavy with unspoken tension. "Gabriel," Ricardo said, his voice hard, trying to regain control. "Forget that woman. She's not coming back." "Why?" Gabriel demanded, his small voice breaking. "Because she wasn't good for you." "Yes, she was." "No, she wasn't." Ricardo exploded, his anger flaring. "She manipulated you. She made you get attached to her to cause confusion." Gabriel looked at his father with teary eyes, a deep sadness clouding them. "That's not true." "Yes, it is. And now you're going to get to know these ladies properly. One of them is going to be your new mother." "I don't want any of them," Gabriel declared firmly. Veronica leaned towards Gabriel, a condescending smile on her face. "Darling, I know you're confused. That woman made you believe lies about us." "What lies?" Gabriel challenged, his eyes narrowing. "That we only want your father's money, that we don't like you. That's a lie, Gabriel. We really want to be your family." Gabriel looked at her with an expression that didn't match his 9 years, a look of profound weariness and insight. "If you like me so much, why didn't anyone ask how I am?" The question caught everyone completely unprepared, leaving a sudden awkward silence in the elegant room. "What do you mean, dear?" Veronica stammered, unsure how to respond. "I haven't eaten properly for 3 days. I haven't slept for 3 days. Did you know that—" The women exchanged uneasy glances, clearly at a loss for words. "You know I cry every night, that I have nightmares about my mother, that I miss her every day." Gabriel continued, his voice rising with emotion. "Gabriel," Ricardo tried to interrupt, feeling a surge of unease. "You know that Aunt Helena was the only person in this house who asked how I was. When I woke up, sad, that she was the only one who listened to me when I wanted to talk about Mom." The 5 women grew increasingly uncomfortable, clearly not expecting such a raw, emotional conversation. "Gabriel," the blonde in blue attempted, "we can learn to take care of you." "Learn." Gabriel rose from the armchair, his small body trembling with indignation. "You want to—" "Learn to like me. Aunt Helena didn't need to learn. She liked me from the first day. That's because she was interested in your father." Veronica blurted out, her composure finally cracking. "Liar!" Gabriel screamed, his voice raw. "Aunt Helena never tried to win over my father. She only took care of me when I needed it." Ricardo stood up as well, his face tense. "Gabriel, stop this." "I won't stop. You sent the only person who cared about me away, and now you want me to pretend I like you." The woman in pink stood up, irritated. "Look, Ricardo, this child is impossible. He needs serious discipline." "You're right," Ricardo agreed, his patience completely gone. "Gabriel, go to your room right now." "I will," Gabriel declared, tears welling in his eyes. "And I'm not coming down again." Gabriel ran up the stairs, his small frame disappearing from view. Moments later, everyone heard his bedroom door slam shut with resounding force, shaking the silent house. "Ricardo," Veronica said, her voice now firm and confident, "you need to be harder on him. A child cannot run the house." I know. I apologize for this, Ricardo replied, feeling a mix of frustration and embarrassment. Don't apologize, the blonde in blue interjected, seizing the opportunity to reinforce their narrative. The blame lies with that manipulative cleaner, but with time and firmness you'll fix this. And while they were at it, the woman in pink suggested, how about you choose one of us? It doesn't have to be Gabriel. You're the father. You decide. Ricardo looked at the 5 women, all beautiful, all wealthy, all eager to marry him. It was exactly what he had wanted 3 days ago, the perfect solution to his problems, a neat package for his life. So why did he feel so empty, so profoundly unsatisfied? I'll think about it, he said, his voice flat. I need some time. When they finally left, Ricardo went up to Gabriel's room. He knocked on the door but received no response. He tried the doorknob, but it was locked. Gabriel opened the door. He called out, a hint of desperation in his voice. Silence. Gabriel. He tried again, a little louder. Still nothing. Ricardo stood there in the hallway, realizing for the first time that he might have made a terrible mistake, one that was far more complex than a business deal. But his pride wouldn't let him admit it, wouldn't allow him to acknowledge the depth of his error. On the other side of the locked door, Gabriel was huddled in his bed, hugging a teddy bear he had received from his mother on his last birthday. He cried softly, trying to muffle his sobs so no one would hear him. Mommy, he whispered to the bear, his voice trembling. Aunt Helena is gone. Daddy sent her away. And now I'm alone again. The bear didn't answer, but Gabriel pretended it did, finding a small comfort in his own imagination. I know you don't like it when I'm sad, but I can't stop. I really like Aunt Helena, and now she can't take care of me anymore. Gabriel closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but he knew the nightmares would return, and this time there was no one to console him, no one to chase the shadows away. Downstairs, Ricardo was in the library trying to work, but he couldn't concentrate. Gabriel's words echoed in his head, a relentless refrain. You want to learn to like me. It was a simple question, but it stirred something deep within him, challenging his core beliefs. Had Helena really manipulated Gabriel, or had she truly cared for the boy, seeing past the wealth and the circumstances? And more importantly, had he, Ricardo, been a terrible father all these 2 years, so consumed by his own grief and work that he had neglected his son's deepest needs? But these questions were too difficult to answer, too painful to confront directly. It was easier to blame Helena for everything and move forward with his original plan. After all, he was a businessman. And in business, when you make a decision, you don't go back on it, even if that decision was slowly destroying your own son, leaving him shattered and alone. A week after the visit of the 5 women, Gabriel was worse, much worse. Carmen went up to take him breakfast and found the boy unconscious in the bathroom. "Mr. Ricardo!" she screamed, her voice filled with desperate alarm. "Come here quickly!" Ricardo dropped everything and rushed upstairs, his heart pounding in his chest. When he saw Gabriel on the floor, pale, unconscious, he felt the world spin, a sudden jolt of terror. "What happened?" he stammered, rushing to his son's side. "I don't know. I came to bring breakfast and found him like this," Carmen explained, her voice trembling. Ricardo gently picked up his son, cradling him in his arms. Gabriel was too light, too hot, his small body feeling alarmingly fragile. "Call the doctor now." Dr. Henrique arrived in 20 minutes and examined Gabriel in his own bed. The boy had woken up, but he was weak, apathetic, and had no desire to speak, his eyes vacant. "Ricardo, I need to talk to you," the doctor said, his voice grave after finishing his examination. They went down to the library, the air thick with unspoken fear. "What's wrong with him, doctor?" Ricardo asked, his voice strained. "Physically, malnutrition, dehydration, exhaustion. But the problem isn't physical, Ricardo." Dr. Henrique began, his gaze serious. "How so?" Ricardo asked, confused. "Your son has severe childhood depression. He's letting himself die of sadness." Ricardo felt a punch to the stomach, the words hitting him with the force of a physical blow. "Depression? He's 9 years old," he exclaimed, disbelief in his voice. "Children get depressed too, especially when they experience significant losses. the doctor explained patiently. But his mother died 2 years ago. I'm not just talking about his mother, I'm talking about recent losses. Carmen told me you had a cleaner who took very good care of him. Ricardo tensed, sensing where the conversation was heading. Helena, but she left because she was manipulating the boy. Dr. Henrique stared at him, his expression unwavering. Ricardo, I've known you since Gabriel was born. Can I speak frankly? Of course, Ricardo replied, bracing himself. Was that woman manipulating the child, or were you just unable to accept that someone could care for your son better than you could? The question hit Ricardo like a shot, sharp and precise, piercing through his carefully constructed defenses. What do you mean? Ricardo asked, his voice barely a whisper. In 2 years, how many times did you go up to Gabriel's room when he was crying? I work a lot, doctor, Ricardo offered as an excuse, his gaze falling. Carmen told me that this Helena went up every time that she knew his nightmares, his habits, his fears. Is that manipulation or care? Ricardo remained silent, the doctor's words ringing with an uncomfortable truth. And another thing Carmen said, that the 5 prospective wives came back here. How did Gabriel react? Badly. He said he didn't want any of them. And you thought it was a tantrum? The doctor asked, a hint of disappointment in his voice. I did. Ricardo admitted, his shoulders slumping. Dr. Henrique shook his head slowly. Ricardo, your son is dying of sadness. Literally dying. If you don't do something quickly, he could have serious complications. What kind of complications? Ricardo asked, his face now white with fear. Hospitalization, feeding tube, intensive psychiatric support. The doctor listed the words, painting a stark, terrifying picture. Ricardo was utterly pale, the gravity of the situation finally sinking in. Is it that serious? It is. And the solution isn't medicine. The solution is to give this child what he needs most. What he needs most is someone who truly cares for him, not for money, not for self-interest, but for love. When the doctor left, Ricardo remained alone in the library, processing everything he had heard, the weight of his mistakes pressing down on him. He went up to see Gabriel, who was sleeping, but even in slumber he seemed to be suffering, his small face etched with an invisible pain. At that moment the phone rang, breaking the heavy silence. It was Veronica. Ricardo, darling, how are you? She asked, her voice oozing concern. Not very well. Veronica, Ricardo replied, his voice flat. Did something happen? Gabriel fainted this morning. The doctor said it's depression. Ricardo explained, his voice devoid of emotion. Oh my God, poor thing. The girls and I were just talking about you. We want to help. How? Veronica quickly pivoted. We thought of something. How about one of us comes to stay there for a few days, to take care of Gabriel, to help him get used to our presence? Ricardo hesitated, a flicker of doubt in his mind. I don't know if that's a good idea, Veronica. Ricardo, the child needs a maternal figure, and we are here available wanting to help. You just have to choose one of us. Let me think about it. Don't think about it. I'm coming over tonight. I'll take care of Gabriel until he gets better, Veronica declared, hanging up before Ricardo could protest, leaving him no room to refuse. At 8 that night, Veronica arrived with 2 suitcases, a triumphant look on her face. I'm here to stay for a few days. Where's the guest room? Carmen showed her the room and helped her with the suitcases, but the housekeeper was deeply worried. She had known Gabriel for years and knew that Veronica's presence would only make everything worse. Mr. Ricardo, she tried to talk to him, her voice low. Are you sure this is a good idea? Carmen, Gabriel needs a mother. Veronica offered to help. Ricardo replied, his voice firm, trying to convince himself as much as her. But Gabriel doesn't like her. He'll have to like her. There's no other option, Ricardo stated, his resolve hardening. Veronica came down for dinner as if she already owned the house, wearing an expensive silk dress and clearly flirting with Ricardo. Gabriel won't be joining us for dinner, she asked, a hint of curiosity in her voice. He hasn't had an appetite for days, Ricardo explained, sighing. Leave it to me. I'll go up there and talk to him. Veronica, he's very weak, Ricardo warned, remembering the doctor's words. Precisely. He needs firmness. A child cannot run the house. Veronica countered, her tone dismissive of his concern. Veronica went up to Gabriel's room against Ricardo's will, confident in her ability to handle the situation. She knocked on the door and entered without waiting for a response. Gabriel was in bed, hugging his teddy bear, staring blankly at the ceiling, his small body still and lifeless. "Hi, Gabriel. I came to visit you," Veronica said, her voice attempting to be warm but sounding artificial. The boy looked at her without speaking, his eyes devoid of emotion. "I heard you're not eating properly. That can't continue, you know." Still silence from Gabriel. "I'm talking to you. It's rude not to answer when an adult speaks." Veronica chided her patience, already wearing thin. "I didn't ask you to come up here," Gabriel said softly, his voice barely audible. "It doesn't matter. I came because I care about you." Gabriel looked at her with a tired expression, his eyes showing a wisdom beyond his years. "You don't care about me." "Of course I care about you," Veronica insisted, sounding slightly exasperated. "Why?" Gabriel's simple question caught Veronica completely off guard, leaving her momentarily speechless. "What do you mean, why?" she stammered, unsure how to respond. "Why do you care about me? What do you know about me?" "I know you're an intelligent boy," Veronica offered, grasping at straws. "Anyone can see that." "What else?" Gabriel pressed his eyes, unwavering. Veronica was left without an answer. Gabriel continued, his voice gaining a quiet strength. "Do you know what my favorite color is? Do you know what food I absolutely won't eat? Do you know why I have nightmares? Do you know what my mother's voice sounded like? Gabriel, these are things we learn over time." Veronica tried to explain, her voice sounding increasingly hollow. "Aunt Helena knew all that. In 1 week of working here, she already knew." "Forget that woman. She wasn't good for you," Veronica quickly dismissed. Gabriel sat up in bed, irritated for the first time in days, a flicker of life in his eyes. "How can you say she wasn't good if you didn't even know her?" "I know her type, a poor woman who takes advantage of rich families." Veronica sneered, her mask of civility slipping. "Aunt Helena never took advantage of anything. She took care of me because she liked me." "She liked your father's money," Veronica retorted, her voice sharp. Gabriel stood up, trembling with rage, his small body shaking. "You're a liar." "Gabriel." Veronica also stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Don't talk to me like that." "I will talk to you like that. You don't know Aunt Helena. She's good. You're the one who just wants my father's money." "You are an ill-mannered, spoiled boy," Veronica screamed, completely losing control. Without thinking, she slapped Gabriel across the face. The smack echoed through the quiet room, a harsh, shocking sound. Gabriel stood in shock, his hand on his reddened cheek, his eyes filling with tears of humiliation and pain. "You hit me," he whispered, disbelief in his voice. Veronica realized what she had done and tried to quickly fix it. "Gabriel, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You irritated me and I—" But Gabriel was already running out of the room, screaming at the top of his lungs. "Daddy! Daddy!" Ricardo was finishing dinner when he heard his son screaming, a sound that pierced through the quiet of the evening. Gabriel ran down the stairs, tears streaming down his face, and threw himself into his father's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "What happened?" Ricardo asked, his voice urgent with alarm. "She hit me, Dad. The woman hit me," Gabriel cried, clutching his father tightly. Ricardo looked at Veronica, who had descended the stairs behind Gabriel, her face contorted with guilt and shame. "Veronica, is this true?" Ricardo demanded, his voice dangerously low. "Ricardo." "It was an accident. The boy disrespected me, said horrible things." She stammered, trying to justify her actions. "You hit my son?" Ricardo asked, his voice cold and hard. "It was just a little slap. He was being ill-mannered." Ricardo felt a surge of rage he had never experienced in his life, a primal protective fury. "How dare you hit my child?" "Ricardo, calm down, Veronica pleaded, trying to defuse the situation. "You hit Gabriel!" Ricardo thundered, his voice shaking. Gabriel was clinging to his father, crying, the red mark of a hand still visible on his cheek. "Get out of my house," Ricardo said, his voice laced with a coldness that even frightened himself. "How?" Veronica asked, stunned. "Get out of my house now," Ricardo insisted, his eyes blazing. "Ricardo, let's talk." "There's nothing to talk about. Get your things and leave." Veronica tried to argue, but Ricardo was beyond reason, his mind set. In 15 minutes, she was on the street with her suitcases, calling a taxi, her brief and disastrous attempt at family quickly coming to an end. When they were finally alone, Ricardo took Gabriel into the living room and gently examined his face, his heart aching. "Does it hurt a lot?" he asked, his voice soft. Gabriel shook his head no, but continued to cry, his small body still trembling. "Why did she hit you?" Ricardo asked, seeking to understand. "Because I defended Aunt Helena," Gabriel explained, his voice muffled by sobs. Ricardo felt a sharp pang in his chest, a mix of guilt and regret. "Defended her? How?" "She said Aunt Helena only wanted money. I said it was a lie." Gabriel recounted, his voice still trembling. "Then she got angry and hit me." "Gabriel, are you sure Helena really cared about you?" Ricardo asked, needing to hear it directly from his son. The boy looked at his father, his eyes red from crying so much, but his gaze was clear and firm. "Yes, Dad, I am. She was the only person who asked if I was okay, the only one who listened to me when I wanted to talk about Mom." "Why did you never tell me these things?" Ricardo asked, the realization of his neglect hitting him hard. "Because you never had time to listen," Gabriel replied, the simple answer hurting more than any slap. Ricardo pulled his son into a tight embrace, and for the first time in 2 years, he truly paid attention to what Gabriel was saying, letting the words sink deep into his heart. "Son, forgive me. I've been a terrible father." "You're not terrible, Dad. You just forgot how to take care of me after Mom left," Gabriel said, his innocence softening the blow. "And now, what do we do?" Ricardo asked, a glimmer of hope in his voice. Gabriel looked at him, hope shining in his eyes for the first time in weeks. "We bring Aunt Helena back." Ricardo fell silent, his pride screaming no, reminding him that Helena was just a cleaner. But looking at his bruised, malnourished, depressed son, he realized that perhaps pride was no longer more important than Gabriel's happiness. "Where is she living now?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I don't know. But Carmen must know." Ricardo called for Carmen, who was in the kitchen pretending she hadn't heard all the commotion. "Carmen, do you know where Helena is?" Carmen hesitated, her eyes darting between father and son. "I do, sir. She's in a boarding house in the city center." "Do you have the address?" Ricardo pressed. "I do." "Why?" Carmen asked, curiosity piqued. Ricardo looked at Gabriel, who was watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. "Because tomorrow morning, I'm going to get her." Gabriel smiled for the first time in 2 weeks, a radiant, genuine smile. And in that smile, Ricardo saw that he had made the most important decision of his life, not out of pride, not out of convenience, but out of profound love for his son. Ricardo didn't sleep all night. He stayed seated in the armchair in Gabriel's room, watching his son sleep, truly observing the boy for the first time in 2 years. He saw how thin and pale he was, how fragile he seemed for his age, and he wondered how he could have been so blind, so utterly oblivious to his son's suffering. Gabriel stirred in bed and murmured, "Aunt Helena, don't leave." Caught in a dream or a nightmare. Ricardo approached and gently touched his son's forehead. It was warm, sweaty. The boy opened his eyes, startled. "Dad." "I'm here, son. You were dreaming." Ricardo reassured him, his voice soft. Gabriel sat up in bed, still confused. "I dreamed that Aunt Helena was coming back, but then she left again." "Gabriel, look at me." The boy looked at him, his eyes still heavy with sleep. "I'm going to get Helena this morning. I'm going to apologize to her and ask her to come back." Gabriel's eyes widened, a sudden spark of hope igniting within them. "Seriously, Dad?" "Seriously. but I need you to help me with something." "With what?" Gabriel asked, intrigued. "I need to understand what I did wrong. I need you to tell me what it was like living here after your mother left." Gabriel was quiet for a few seconds, as if organizing his thoughts, choosing his words carefully. Then he began to speak, his voice soft but clear. "When Mom died, you disappeared, Dad." "What do you mean disappeared?" "I was working," Ricardo protested, a defensive note in his voice. "You were running away, running from me, running from the memories, running from everything." Ricardo felt as if he'd been punched in the chest, the truth of his son's words hitting him with brutal force. "In the first few months I cried every night. Do you know who came to comfort me, Carmen? You never came up here once. Gabriel let me finish, Dad. When it was my birthday, who organized the party, Carmen? When I got sick, who stayed with me, Carmen? When I had nightmares, who calmed me down? Nobody. I was alone until it passed." Each word was like a stab to Ricardo's heart, reopening old wounds and inflicting new ones. "Then Aunt Helena arrived," Gabriel continued, his voice gaining a little more strength. "In the first week she noticed I woke up crying. Do you know what she did?" "What?" Ricardo asked, tears welling in his eyes. "She asked if I wanted to talk. Simple as that. No one had ever asked me that before." "And you talked?" Ricardo prompted, desperate to understand. "I did. I told her I missed Mom, that I was afraid you would leave too, that I felt alone in a house full of people." Ricardo's eyes were filled with tears, a floodgate of emotion finally breaking open. "Why did you never tell me this?" he choked out. "Because every time I tried to talk about Mom, you changed the subject. Every time I cried, you told me to be strong. Every time I needed you, you were working, Dad." Gabriel's voice was filled with a poignant accusation. "Aunt Helena didn't do that. She let me cry as much as I wanted. She let me tell stories about Mom. And do you know what she said that helped me the most?" "What?" Ricardo asked, clinging to his every word. "That missing someone wasn't a weakness. That crying for those we love was normal. That Mom would be proud to see how much I loved her." Ricardo broke down, crying, a torrent of 2 years of guilt, repressed pain, and terrible decisions pouring out in a flood of tears. "Forgive me, Gabriel. Forgive me for being such a bad father." Gabriel moved closer and hugged his father, a gesture of profound forgiveness. "You're not bad, Dad. You were just hurting like me. But now we can help each other." "How?" Ricardo asked, hope mixed with his tears. "You stop running from me, and I stop being afraid to talk to you." Ricardo hugged his son as he hadn't done in 2 years, a raw emotional embrace. There, in that quiet room, something profound healed between them. Not everything, perhaps, but enough to start anew, to build a new foundation. "Dad," Gabriel said after a few minutes, pulling back slightly, "do you think Aunt Helena will forgive me?" "Why wouldn't she forgive you? You didn't do anything wrong," Ricardo said, a gentle smile on his face. "But she must be hurt. You fired her. You said mean things to her." Ricardo sighed, remembering his harsh words. "Yes, I did say those things. I was very unfair. So you need to apologize properly." "I will," Ricardo promised, his voice firm. "And what if she doesn't want to come back?" Gabriel's face fell, a shadow of sadness returning. "Then we'll have to accept it. But at least she'll know we're very sorry." At 7 in the morning, Ricardo showered, dressed, and asked Carmen to prepare a special breakfast. He wanted to bring something for Helena as a gesture of peace, a small offering of reconciliation. "Carmen, do you think she'll forgive me?" he asked, as the housekeeper prepared a basket with bread cakes and coffee, a nervous edge to his voice. "It depends on how you talk to her, sir," Carmen replied, her voice gentle but firm. "Helena is a good person, but she has her dignity. If you go there just to order her around, she won't accept it." "And if I go to ask for forgiveness," Ricardo pressed, hopeful, "then perhaps she'll listen." Ricardo took the basket and went to his car. Gabriel wanted to go along, but he was too weak to leave the house. "Bring her back, Dad, please," he pleaded, his eyes wide. "I will, son, I promise." The boarding house where Helena was staying was in an old part of the city center, a simple, somewhat peeling building very different from the Almeida mansion. Ricardo parked in front and stayed there for a few minutes, gathering his courage, the weight of his task heavy on him. He went up to the third floor and knocked on the door of room 305. "Who is it?" Helena's voice asked from the other side of the door, muffled but clear. "It's me, Ricardo." Silence. Total silence. "Helena, please, I need to talk to you." The door opened slowly. Helena appeared wearing a simple dress, her hair down without makeup. Even so, she was beautiful, her natural grace shining through. But what impressed Ricardo the most was her expression. It wasn't anger, it wasn't resentment. It was a deep sadness, a quiet weariness. "What do you want here, sir?" she asked, but without fully opening the door, a lingering hesitancy in her posture. "I want to ask for forgiveness." Helena was surprised. In 2 years of working for Ricardo, she had never seen him apologize for anything, his pride always standing in the way. "Forgiveness for what?" she asked, a hint of skepticism in her voice. "For everything. For unjustly firing you, for believing you were manipulating Gabriel, for treating you badly." Ricardo confessed, his voice filled with genuine remorse. Helena opened the door a little wider, but still didn't invite him in, a cautious barrier remaining. "And what changed? Why are you here now, sir?" Ricardo took a deep breath, preparing himself to confess the painful truth. "Gabriel is sick, childhood depression. The doctor said he's letting himself die of sadness." Helena turned pale, the news hitting her hard. "Depression? But he's 9 years old," she exclaimed, her voice filled with alarm. "Exactly. And do you know what else the doctor said? That the solution isn't medicine. It's to give Gabriel what he needs most." "What is that?" Ricardo looked directly into her eyes, his gaze unwavering. "Someone who truly cares about him. Someone like you." Helena lowered her eyes, a complex mix of emotions swirling within her. "Mr. Ricardo," she began, her voice soft. "And there's more. Last night one of the candidates hit Gabriel." "Hit him?" Helena lifted her head abruptly, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. "What do you mean, hit him?" "She slapped him across the face because he defended you," Ricardo explained, his voice heavy with shame. Helena's eyes filled with tears, a painful understanding dawning on her. "She hit Gabriel because of me." "She did. And it was at that moment that I realized how wrong I was, how blind, proud, and stupid I had been." Helena finally opened the door completely, a gesture of cautious acceptance. "Come in. Let's talk." The room was small, simple, but clean and organized. A bed, a dresser, a small table. Ricardo felt a pang of guilt, seeing Helena living like that when she could have been in the comfortable house. He offered a stark contrast to his own lavish life. "Helena, I need to tell you something." "What?" "Gabriel told me everything. How you took care of him when he had nightmares. How you listened to him talk about his mother. How you were the only person who truly paid attention to him." Ricardo confessed, his voice filled with regret. Helena sat down on the bed, still processing the shocking information that Gabriel was sick. "I always knew he was needy. Anyone with a little sensitivity would notice, but you didn't notice because you were suffering too. Your wife's death affected you in a way you never managed to properly process." Ricardo was surprised by her profound understanding, by her ability to see past his harsh exterior. "How do you know that?" he asked, genuinely curious. "Because I've been through it myself. I've lost someone important, and I know how grief can make us blind to everything around us." Helena explained, her voice tinged with empathy. "And even so, you took care of Gabriel because he needed you, and because—" Helena hesitated, a blush creeping onto her cheeks. "Because what?" Ricardo prompted gently. "Because I became attached to him in a way I didn't expect. In 6 months, he became like a son to me." Ricardo felt his heart clench deeply, moved by her honest confession. "Helena, I came here to offer you your job back. As a cleaner," she asked, a hint of surprise in her voice. As whatever you want to be." Cleaner, housekeeper, nanny, part of the family, whatever you decide. Helena fell silent, thoughtful, absorbing the magnitude of his offer. Helena, Gabriel is dying of missing you, literally dying. Yesterday he fainted from weakness. He's not eating, not talking, not leaving his room. You're the only person who can save him. And have you changed your mind about me, sir? Helena asked, her gaze steady. Ricardo lowered his head, ashamed. I have. I realized that you never wanted to manipulate me or Gabriel. You simply cared about him truly. And the 5 candidates. He continued, all dismissed forever. I realized Gabriel was right. They wanted my money, not my family. Helena stood up and went to the small window of the room, looking out at the bustling street below, her mind racing. Mr. Ricardo, can I ask you some questions? She asked, her voice calm. Of course, he replied, anxious for her response. If I come back, will you respect me as a person, not as a cleaner, but as someone who takes care of Gabriel because she loves him? I will. Will you stop working so much and spend more time with your son? I will. I've realized that Gabriel needs me as much as he needs you. And if in the future you meet another woman and want to marry, will you remember that Gabriel has an opinion about that? Ricardo paused, considering her question carefully. I will. In fact, Helena, yes. Gabriel said yesterday that you're the only person he wants as a mother, and observing you two together, I realized that you have a real connection. Ricardo confessed, his voice trembling slightly. Helena turned to him, her eyes wide with surprise. What are you trying to say, sir? Ricardo's face turned red, an unexpected blush creeping up his neck. He hadn't planned this conversation, but the words came out on their own, driven by a sudden clarity. I'm saying that perhaps Gabriel is right. Perhaps you are exactly what our family needs. Mr. Ricardo, Helena began, her voice barely a whisper. Not as a cleaner, Helena, but as a true part of the family. Helena was speechless, completely unprepared for such a declaration. I know it sounds crazy, Ricardo continued, sensing her shock. 2 days ago, I thought you were a manipulator. Today, I realize you might be the answer to all our problems. What answer? Helena asked, her voice still filled with disbelief. Gabriel needs a mother who truly loves him. I need someone who helps me be a better father. And you? You need a family that values you. Helena sat on the bed again, overwhelmed by the conversation, her mind reeling. This is too fast. Mr. Ricardo, too confusing. I know, I'm not asking for an answer now. I'm asking you to come back to take care of Gabriel, to give us a chance to show that we've changed. And if it doesn't work out, Ricardo offered, his voice gentle. If it doesn't work out, you can leave whenever you want with all the respect and compensation you deserve. Helena remained silent for long minutes, her gaze fixed on the floor, processing the weight of his words. Ricardo waited anxiously, his heart pounding in his chest. All right, she said finally, her voice soft but firm. I'll come back. Ricardo felt a huge wave of relief wash over him. Seriously? Seriously? He asked, hope rekindling in his eyes. Seriously? But not for you, sir. Because of Gabriel. If he's sick, he needs me. That's all that matters. Would you accept a ride? Ricardo asked, a small smile forming on his lips. Helena looked around the simple room where she had spent the 2 saddest weeks of her life, a chapter she was ready to close. I accept. Let me just get my things. In 10 minutes, she had her small suitcase in hand, ready to return to a house she never imagined she would miss so much. Helena, Ricardo said as they descended the stairs, a genuine warmth in his voice. Thank you. For what? She asked, looking at him. For giving our family a second chance. Mr. Ricardo, can I be honest? She asked, a small smile playing on her lips. Of course. I also missed you all very much, especially Gabriel. Ricardo smiled for the first time in weeks, a truly genuine smile. Then let's go home and take care of him. Let's, Helena agreed. And for the first time, the two left that building not as boss and employee, but as two people who wanted the same thing: to see Gabriel happy again. Gabriel was at his bedroom window when he saw his father's car pull into the garage. His heart raced, a sudden surge of hope and fear intertwining within him. Would Helena be with him, or had Ricardo returned alone with the devastating news that she hadn't wanted to forgive him? Carmen rushed upstairs, her face beaming. "Gabriel, your father's here. He brought Aunt Helena." "He did?" Gabriel asked, his voice trembling. "I don't know, my dear. Let's go down and see," Carmen replied, her smile hinting at good news. Gabriel descended the stairs slowly, his legs shaky from nerves and weakness, his small body bracing for whatever news awaited him. He stopped in the middle of the living room and waited, his gaze fixed on the front door. The front door opened and Ricardo entered alone. Gabriel's heart sank, a wave of profound disappointment washing over him. She hadn't wanted to come back. Ricardo smiled, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "What's the hurry? You didn't even let me come in properly." "Dad, please, was she with you or not?" Gabriel pleaded, his voice choked with emotion. "Why don't you ask her yourself?" At that moment, Helena appeared at the door, her small suitcase in hand and a shy smile on her face, a radiant presence in the doorway. "Aunt Helena!" Gabriel screamed, a joyous shout escaping him. He ran, throwing himself into her arms with all his might. Helena dropped her suitcase and embraced the boy as if he were the most precious thing in the world, holding him tightly against her. The two clung to each other, crying, laughing, and talking at the same time, a whirlwind of pent-up emotions finally released. "I thought you weren't coming back," Gabriel sobbed, his face buried in her shoulder. "I thought so too," Helena admitted, tears streaming down her face. "But I couldn't stop thinking about you. Did you miss me?" "I missed you so much. I missed your stories. I missed your questions. I missed taking care of you," Gabriel replied, pulling back slightly to look at her, a small frown on his face. "You're different." "Different how?" Helena asked, curious. "Sadder. I made you sad." Helena smiled through her tears, her heart overflowing. "A little, but now I'm happy again." Carmen, who had been watching the scene from the kitchen door, was also crying deeply, moved by the reunion. "I'm so glad you're back, Helena. This house was dead without you." Ricardo watched the reunion in silence, a profound understanding washing over him. Seeing Gabriel in Helena's arms, he realized how utterly foolish he had been. The connection between the two was real, pure, true. How could he have ever thought it was manipulation? "Aunt Helena," Gabriel said, still clinging to her, his voice filled with renewed hope. "Are you staying forever now?" Helena looked at Ricardo, who gave her an encouraging nod, a silent affirmation of his support. "I'll stay as long as you want me to stay," Helena replied, her voice soft and loving. "Then it's forever, because I'll never want you to leave." Agreed. Gabriel finally let go of Helena and ran to his father, throwing his arms around him. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you for bringing her back." Ricardo embraced his son, a sense of peace settling over him. "Don't thank me. I should have done this sooner. The important thing is that now we are a family again." The word family echoed through the living room, filling the space with warmth and meaning. Ricardo and Helena exchanged glances, both thinking of the conversation they had had in the boarding house, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey. "Gabriel," Ricardo said gently, breaking the moment. "Aunt Helena just arrived. How about letting her rest a bit?" "No, I want to show her a lot of things. Aunt Helena, come to my room. I have to tell you everything that happened," Gabriel insisted, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Helena laughed, a genuine, joyful sound. "Okay, but only if you promise that you'll eat your lunch properly afterward." "I promise. Now that you're back, I'll eat everything," Gabriel declared, his appetite suddenly returned. The two went upstairs together, Gabriel talking incessantly, Helena listening to every word as if it were the most important thing in the world, her heart overflowing with love. Ricardo remained in the living room, watching them ascend, a profound sense of contentment settling over him. Carmen approached, a warm smile on her face. "Mr. Ricardo, did you do the right thing?" she asked softly. I hope so, Carmen, he replied, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. You did. This house became a graveyard after Helena left. Now it has life again. Carmen affirmed her words, echoing his own feelings. Carmen, can I ask you something? Ricardo asked, a new thought forming in his mind. Of course. Do you think Helena can really become part of this family? Not as a cleaner, but as Gabriel's mother. Carmen smiled knowingly. Sir, she's already Gabriel's mother. It just needs to be made official, and as your wife, that's up to you. But can I say something? Go ahead, Ricardo encouraged. In 20 years of working here, I've never seen you as human as you've been today. Helena won't just be good for Gabriel, she'll be good for you too. In Gabriel's room, Helena was listening to a detailed account of everything that had happened in her absence, her heart aching with every word. And then the woman hit me in the face, Gabriel recounted indignantly, his small body trembling. My God, she really hit you. Helena gasped, her eyes wide with shock. She did. Look, there's still a mark, Gabriel said, pointing to his cheek where a faint redness lingered. Helena touched his face gently, her fingers tracing the slight bruise. Did it hurt a lot? It hurt. But do you know what hurt more? Gabriel asked, his voice soft. What? Helena prompted, tears welling in her eyes. Her saying bad things about you. She said you only wanted Daddy's money, and you defended me. Helena asked, deeply moved. I defended you. I said she was a liar, that you liked me for real. Helena hugged Gabriel again, holding him tightly, feeling the warmth of his small body against hers. You are the bravest boy I know. Aunt Helena, can I tell you a secret? You always can, she replied, her voice filled with tenderness. When you left, I talked to Mom every night. How did you talk to her? Helena asked, curious. Gabriel picked up the teddy bear he had received from his mother. I talked to her through the bear. I told her I was sad that I missed you. And what did she say back? Helena asked, her voice hushed. She said you would come back, that you loved me very much and wouldn't abandon me. Helena felt her eyes well up with tears, deeply touched by his innocent faith. Your mommy was right, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I know. She always knows things from heaven. Gabriel, can I ask you a question? Helena asked, choosing her words carefully. Of course. How would you feel if I wasn't just your nanny or the cleaner in the house anymore? What do you mean? Helena chose her words with care. How would you feel if I became part of the family for real? Gabriel's eyes widened, a sudden spark of understanding in them. As Daddy's wife. Helena blushed, caught off guard. Something like that. Are you going to marry my father? Gabriel shouted, his voice filled with pure joy. Don't shout! Helena whispered, a nervous laugh escaping her. We don't know that yet. I'm just asking how you would feel. Gabriel became thoughtful for a few seconds, his small brow furrowed in concentration. Aunt Helena, can I be very honest? Always. Ever since you arrived here, I've imagined what it would be like if you were my real mother. I imagine you giving me goodnight kisses every day, taking me to school, taking care of me when I get sick. I imagine us being a real family. And how do you feel imagining that? Helena asked, her heart pounding with anticipation. Gabriel smiled, the most beautiful smile Helena had ever seen, a radiant, genuine expression of happiness. Happy, very happy. So if that ever happens, when it happens, Gabriel corrected, his eyes twinkling, it will be the happiest day of my life. Helena hugged the boy deeply, moved a tear rolling down her cheek. You are very special, Gabriel. You're special too, Aunt Helena. That's why I chose you that day in the yard. Do you remember that? I remember everything. You were scared. I was scared, but my heart knew you were the right person. Your heart knew. It knew. Just like Mom always said, the heart is never wrong when we truly love someone. Helena was deeply touched by the wisdom of that 9-year-old child, a profound understanding of love that many adults never achieve. Gabriel, now that I'm back, I need you to promise me something." "What?" "That you'll always talk to me whenever you're sad or scared, that you won't keep things to yourself." "I promise." "And you promise you won't leave again?" "I promise. No matter what happens, I'll always be here for you." "Boy, even if Daddy gets angry with you, even if Daddy gets angry with me, even if other women show up wanting to marry him." Helena laughed, a genuine, joyful sound. "Especially if other women show up?" Gabriel laughed too, his innocent mirth filling the room. "Aunt Helena, yes. I love you." It was the first time Gabriel had said those words to Helena, and she felt her heart explode with emotion, a warmth spreading through her entire being. "I love you too, Gabriel, very much. Do you love me as if I were your son?" "I love you as if you were my real son," Helena replied, her voice thick with emotion. Gabriel beamed, his face radiant with happiness. "Then you're already my mother in my heart, and you're already my son in my heart." The two stayed embraced, sealing a love that had been born naturally and that nothing in the world could destroy, a bond that defied circumstances and expectations. Downstairs, Ricardo was in the library when he heard laughter coming from Gabriel's room. It was the first time he had heard his son truly laugh in months, a sound that brought an unexpected warmth to his own heart. He went up slowly and stood at the half-open door observing the scene, a quiet witness to the joy within. Helena and Gabriel were on the bed, looking through a photo album, their heads close together. "This here is Mom, pregnant with me," Gabriel explained, pointing to a picture. "How beautiful," Helena murmured, her voice soft. "She was," Gabriel agreed, a wistful smile on his face. "She looks like she was very happy." "She was. Daddy always says she was overjoyed when she found out I was coming. And here, when you were born," Gabriel flipped to another page. "Here are the three of us in the hospital. Look how Daddy is smiling." Ricardo watched the scene and realized something he had never noticed before. Helena wasn't trying to replace Mariana. She was honoring her memory, helping Gabriel keep his mother's memory alive, integrating her into their new narrative rather than erasing her. "Aunt Helena," Gabriel said, looking up at her, "when you marry Daddy, you'll be my second mother. Mommy Mariana will continue to be my first mother." "Exactly. No one will ever take the place of your Mommy Mariana. I'll be a new love, different, just like Daddy always says, the heart has room for a lot of love." Ricardo felt his eyes fill with tears, a profound realization washing over him. Helena was teaching Gabriel something he himself had failed to learn, that loving again doesn't mean forgetting those who are gone, but rather expanding the capacity of the heart. He knocked gently on the door. "Can I come in?" "Daddy, come see the photos with us," Gabriel called out, his voice filled with delight. Ricardo sat on the bed with the two of them, and for the first time in 2 years, he was able to look at Mariana's photos without feeling only pain, but with a sense of cherished remembrance. "Look at this photo, Dad." Gabriel showed him an image of Mariana pregnant. "Aunt Helena said Mom was very happy here." "She really was," Ricardo confirmed, a soft smile on his face. "She could barely wait for you to be born." "And this one from my first birthday?" Gabriel asked, pointing to another picture. "That was a beautiful party. Your mother made sure to invite all the neighborhood children." Helena observed father and son talking about Mariana naturally, without pain, without guilt. It was exactly what Gabriel needed, a bridge between his past and his present. "Daddy," Gabriel said after some time, looking up at him, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "Do you like Aunt Helena?" Ricardo looked at Helena, who blushed, caught off guard. "I like her very much, Gabriel." "Do you like her as a friend, or do you like her like Mom?" Gabriel's direct question left both adults speechless, their composure momentarily shattered. "Gabriel," Helena began, a nervous laugh escaping her. "It's an important question," Gabriel insisted, his eyes wide and earnest. "Because if you like each other, you can date and then get married, and then we'll be a complete family." Ricardo and Helena exchanged glances, a mixture of amusement and surprise on their faces. Gabriel's simplicity made everything seem so much easier, cutting through the complexities of adult relationships. "Gabriel," Ricardo said, carefully choosing his words. "These things take time." "How much time?" Gabriel asked, impatient. "I don't know. It depends on many things." Gabriel became thoughtful. "Daddy, can I give my opinion?" "You can. You two already like each other. I see it in the way you look at each other, and we already live like a family. So why not make it official already?" Helena laughed at the boy's simple logic, but her heart fluttered. "It's not that simple, Gabriel. Why not? Because your father and I have known each other for a short time. 6 months isn't a short time, and besides, what matters isn't time. What matters is if you truly love each other." Ricardo was impressed by his son's wisdom, by his innate understanding of what truly mattered. "And how do you know if people truly love each other?" he asked, genuinely curious. "Easy. When they take care of each other, when they worry about each other, when they're happy together, just like you two are." Helena and Ricardo looked at each other again, a silent confirmation passing between them. Gabriel wasn't wrong. "Gabriel," Ricardo said, a gentle smile on his face. "How about we let things happen naturally?" "Okay, but I already give my approval for the wedding." The three laughed together, a joyous sound that filled the room. For the first time in 2 years, that house knew genuine happiness, a lightness that had been missing for far too long. "Now," Helena said, standing up, "how about we go downstairs for lunch? You promised you would eat properly." "I'm going to eat now that my family is complete. I'm hungry again." Gabriel jumped off the bed with an energy he hadn't shown in weeks, his small body suddenly full of life. He ran downstairs shouting to Carmen that he was hungry, his voice echoing with renewed joy. Helena and Ricardo were left alone in the room, a comfortable silence settling between them. "Helena," Ricardo said, walking closer to her, his voice low and sincere. "Thank you." "For what?" she asked, looking up at him. "For giving me back my son, and for teaching me that it's possible to love again without betraying those who are gone." Helena smiled. "Gabriel taught me that. Children have a wisdom that we adults lose." "Helena, what Gabriel said there about us getting married. How do you feel about that?" Ricardo asked, his heart pounding in his chest. Helena took a deep breath, feeling scared, happy, and confused all at the same time. "Why scared?" Ricardo asked, sensing her apprehension. "Because it happened so fast. Yesterday I was your fired cleaner. Today I'm being treated as a future wife." "And why happy?" he prompted, his eyes searching hers. Because I fell in love with both of you, with this family." Ricardo moved closer to her, his hand gently taking hers. "Helena, can I be honest?" "Of course," she replied, her heart accelerating. "I also fell in love. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I fell in love with the woman who brought happiness back to my son, and who taught me to be a father again." Helena felt her heart accelerate even more, a blush creeping onto her cheeks. "Ricardo, I know it's early, I know it's complicated, but I can't pretend I don't feel it." "And what do you feel?" he asked, his voice filled with hope. "That you are exactly what Gabriel and I always needed. That you didn't arrive here by chance. That perhaps Mariana sent you to take care of us." Helena was deeply moved by his words, tears welling in her eyes. "You really believe that?" she whispered. "I believe it. Gabriel chose you that day in the yard, but now I understand that my heart also chose you." "Daddy, Aunt Helena," Gabriel's voice shouted from downstairs. "Where are you? The food is ready." The two laughed, a shared moment of joy and warmth. "Let's go," Helena said, a wide smile on her face. "Your son is hungry." "Our son," Ricardo corrected gently, his eyes sparkling. Helena smiled. "Our son." They descended together hand in hand for the first time. Gabriel saw them and began to clap his hands, his face beaming. "I knew it. I knew you two would get together." Carmen appeared from the kitchen, smiling widely. What joy! This house needed love again. During lunch, Gabriel talked non-stop, telling Helena about school, about his friends, about his plans for his upcoming birthday. "Aunt Helena, will you be here for my birthday?" he asked, his eyes wide with anticipation. "Of course I will," she replied, her heart full. "And will you help me organize the party?" "If you want me to." "I do, and Daddy, will you help too?" Ricardo smiled, delighted by his son's newfound enthusiasm. "I will, son. Then it will be the first party we three will organize together." After lunch, Gabriel wanted to show Helena the yard as if she had never seen it before, guiding her through it with childlike enthusiasm. "Look, Aunt Helena, it was here that I chose you that day," he said, pointing to a specific spot near the pool. "It was, wasn't it? You remember exactly where it was?" Helena asked, touched by his vivid memory. Gabriel ran to that spot, his small legs pumping. "It was here. I was here. You were there, and I pointed at you and said I wanted you as my mother." Ricardo watched the scene, a warmth spreading through his chest. "And you still want her?" he asked Gabriel, a twinkle in his eye. "Of course I do. Now even more." Helena knelt to Gabriel's height, her voice gentle. "Gabriel, if one day I truly become your official mother, will you promise that you'll always remember Mommy Mariana?" "I promise. She'll be my heart mother who's in heaven, and you'll be my heart mother who's here with me. And there's room in your heart for both." Gabriel opened his arms wide, a gesture of boundless love. "My heart is huge. It has room for everyone I love." Ricardo hugged Helena from behind his arms, wrapping around her. "So it's decided," he whispered in her ear. "What's decided?" Gabriel asked, curious. Ricardo looked at Helena, who smiled and nodded, her eyes shining. "That soon we will make our family official. Seriously." Gabriel shouted, running through the yard, his voice echoing with pure joy. "Carmen, Carmen, Daddy's going to marry Aunt Helena." Carmen appeared at the kitchen door, laughing, a genuine smile on her face. "That's wonderful, boy. That's wonderful." Gabriel ran back and hugged them both at the same time, a triumphant grin on his face. "Now, yes, now we are a truly complete family." Ricardo looked up at the blue afternoon sky, a peaceful smile on his face. "Mariana, our family is complete again. Thank you for sending Helena to us." Helena looked up too, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Mariana. I promise I will take very good care of your boy." Gabriel looked at the two adults, his eyes wide. "She's watching, right? Mommy is happy up in heaven." "She is," Ricardo confirmed, his voice soft. "I'm sure she is." And there, in that very yard where everything began, a new family was formed, not replacing what had been lost, but building something new and beautiful upon the foundation of true love, a love that only grew by embracing the past and the present. 6 months later, in a simple but moving ceremony in the house's own backyard, Ricardo and Helena were married. Gabriel was the proudest page boy in the world, carrying the rings with a smile that lit up the entire celebration, his joy contagious. "Now officially," he declared when the newlyweds kissed, "I have the best family in the world." And as the guests applauded, Helena looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Mariana. I promise I will love them forever." The wind rustled the trees in the yard, as if Mariana were giving her final blessing, a gentle acceptance of the new happiness. The cleaner who had been chosen by a 9-year-old child had become not only a wife and mother, but the person who brought happiness back to a broken family. And Gabriel grew up knowing that there were two special women in his life. Mariana, who loved him first and forever, and Helena, who loved him, proving that true love doesn't replace it, multiplies. End of story.